as a Spanish teacher, so y'all welcome to give her. You know, with everything that's going on with Spanish, you know, and some of y'all have heard this before, she was like I told her she was like a ram in the bush, you know, when I was about to sacrifice myself. The bush shook and Ms. Ashby dropped out, so we was happy to have that, and the way that we're closing the gap, the way we were closing, trying to get all of this Spanish thing, you know, situated to get it on solid ground. So we're happy to have her aboard, and y'all have no idea how hard it is to find a foreign language teacher. All right, just some housekeeping stuff right quick. Please remind to send your test to Ms. Ingram. She says she's not getting the test from everyone. That is not an option. Before you give an assessment, you need to send it to her to make sure that the wording and the vocabulary is correct. So please send that your test to her. And then let's pay attention to our test averages. I had a conference with a parent on yesterday, and the student wasn't doing well on test averages, and I'm going on about formative assessments and things like that. And what I do sometimes is I'll pull up the grade book and I'll look at test averages. And sometimes our test averages are pretty low. And so if your test average is pretty low, then that means that somebody's not getting something. You cannot just continue moving forward and leaving students behind. Because your test average is your summative assessment of whatever lessons that you've been teaching. And if we're formatively assessing correctly, and we're going back on Mondays and we're reteaching and reassessing and all of those things, when we get to test the class and your test average is failing, then that's a sign that we need to rethink and redo this. That was one of the reasons I asked for semester exam averages. Because if I look at semester exam averages, class averages, and your semester exam class average is not good, and this is stuff that kids have to remember all the way till April for milestone, we can't just move on and leave those gaps. Does that make sense? So if your semester exam average, we need to do some, you know, that halt time after semester exam is probably a good time to revisit that stuff and make sure that these kids are getting it. And also putting, you know, I think it was social studies in the meeting we got this from, putting some of those review questions as little extra questions on your test, on your assessment, so that you're kind of reviewing that stuff as we going into April for the milestone. Okay, so these are not optional things. These are part of your duties and responsibilities, and we have to get this stuff done in order for us to keep moving in the right direction. If time permit, I'm going to show you some data that we are doing the right things, but you got to remember we got a 3% increase that we're responsible for after this year. So we got to make sure that we're doing things to keep these students achieving. And like I said before, we got to reach down. You know, we don't have enough of our honors kids to carry us. We have to bring our low achieving kids. We got to scout for those students up so that we can continue our climb and to meet these benchmarks or these percentages that we have to do in order to be fulfilling our contract for us being a E-squared school. So just keeping those things in mind. Also, ZAP. We've been doing ZAP for 11 years. We started ZAP my very first year, and some of us are still not zapping students. And when I'm in a parent, I was in a parent conference yesterday, and some of these parents do read these handbooks. And then when I pull up a student's report and I'm going down because they're failing, and I come up on zeros, and I have parents ask me like they did yesterday, what about your ZAP? Then it puts me in I'll get with the teacher and we'll get your child to work and stuff like that. Zeros are not permitted here. All right, zeros are not permitted here. Students do not have an option of not doing their work. And I'm gonna pull the handbook up, I'm gonna go over it again. Look at the ZAP policy. All you gotta do is give them to us. We'll take care of it. That's all you gotta do. All you gotta do is give them to us, and then you're done. We'll get to work, we'll meet with the students, we'll get to work, and we'll turn the work back into the students. Okay? So, but we cannot just not do it. Because if it's in our handbook, we have to do it. All right? Now, do everybody understand what culturally responsive pedagogy or culturally responsive environment? Do everybody understand what that means? Okay, I'm gonna explain it. We are a culturally responsive environment. What that means is everything we do, we take every child's culture. It's for every child that sits in that classroom. So we got children in our classrooms from the principal's child all the way to a child that's from a 100% free and reduced lunch that's on assistance. All right? Now, we have our own biases and beliefs that we grew up with. Okay? We have our own beliefs and our own biases we grew up with. Now, when we take if we grew up middle class or upper middle class or whatever we grew up at, if we take those beliefs and and don't be culturally responsive to the kids that's in your class, and we just put those beliefs on a kid that don't even understand or hadn't even been exposed to an upper middle class upbringing, then that's where the disconnect is. All right, i.e., when we say things like, when we're not in a culturally responsive classroom and we say things like, when I first came here and I said we're gonna reteach and retest, and then some of the response was, we're just giving it to them. Oh, we hold these kids responsible, we just giving it to them. Well, that's a middle class ideology or upper middle class ideology being placed on a kid that comes from poverty, that if you don't make them successful, what they gonna do? They're just gonna give up. Now, my daughter, in the house, that we always talk about education, how was it school today, what did you do, let me see your homework. Well, she's not gonna give up because she has me and her mother at home to make sure that she don't. But we have students in here that don't have that. So if we're not culturally responsive to those students, that's why we lose them. So that's why we have ZAP. That's why we have reteach. That's why we have formative assessments. That's why we make sure that the vocabulary is correct. Because we want to be culturally responsive to all the students that's sitting in our classroom. That's why we RITA the standard. You know, our upper level kids, you probably don't even have to RITA the standard. Some of those kids will teach themselves. But we got a demographic of children sitting in our classroom that don't do that. That's why we have Read 180, because we got to get their reading levels to where they need to be. So I wanted to give a title of what all this stuff is to you, to get you to understand why we do it. And sometimes our own biases will have us thinking a certain way and making comments a certain way because we're trying to reach every student that's in our classroom and every student that's in this building. So culturally responsive, that's what we are. That's, when we do these things, that's what we're being. We're being culturally responsive because we want to reach every student that's sitting in our classroom. So we have to consider their background, we have to consider where they come from, we have to consider the barriers and things that they deal with on a daily basis. This is the demographic that we have. Now there's another demographic out there, and I it was funny because I was talking to Mr. Rainer. He left us and went to Waycross. Well, he was coming through here, going to Athens to their band thing. He had 2 attorneys as parents on the bus with him. Okay, that's the other side. So guess what they do? They question everything. He said he was late to a game. Them parents run straight to the superintendent. Here comes the superintendent to the principal. So you got 2 sides. There's no utopia. You got 2 sides. You either got parents that's going, and I guarantee you, if you go to Forsyth, you're not going to be late putting your grades in Infinite Campus. If you go to Forsyth up there where they got 100% or 99% CCRPI score, if it's zapping that handbook, you're going to be zapping them. And y'all know exactly what, us, with our own children, we expect everything that's in that handbook and everything that our children are supposed to receive, that it be followed. Okay? So there's 2 sides to this coin. So what we have to do is be culturally responsive to all the students that's sitting in this building and sitting in our classroom. And when we do that, now you're considering every situation that every student you have in your class. We just can't put, how I was raised and my values on a student that don't even understand and has never been exposed to that. We just can't do it and expect for that connection. Even on the discipline, even at administration level, I had a parent the other day, kid that came from impoverished kid. When it comes to discipline, what do they say? Y'all never listen. Y'all never listen to the students. Y'all always believe the teachers. If I had $1 for every time I hear that parent walked in there and said, all students ain't wrong and all teachers ain't right. That's what the parent said to me the other day. But when I pulled that portfolio and I started flipping them 1 hours, warning, you done been up here 5 times for a conference. This is Miss So-and-so, this is Mrs. So-and-so's class, this is Miss So-and-so's class. Then that argument did what? Went away. Just like y'all do in parent conferences when you have those portfolios and you turn them around and you slide that portfolio across that table and you saying this, and this, then the argument goes away, okay? And because we have to be culturally responsive and because we have all types of thinking processes, we just can't ignore one process and say, oh, well, they from over there in the project, they don't know what they're talking about. Because that's how that parent felt. All right, and until I was able to show her that we warned this young, he had a stack of 1 hours like this. And I said, we can't keep warning him. And then finally she broke down and said, well, yeah, he's been like that since he was a little boy. But if I hadn't had those proofs and been able to address her concern, then I wouldn't be culturally responsive to her. Does that make sense, y'all? So that's the title of it. That's what we try to do. And that's why all these things are in place, because we have to be responsive to all the students that's sitting in our classroom. And y'all know, I'm telling you, kids in poverty, I was one of them. If I didn't want to do the work and that teacher let me take that 0, I had already done the calculations in my head. I used to think first 9 weeks and third 9 weeks, you can slack off. But you gotta work the second 9 weeks and the fourth 9 weeks, because they're gonna average those 2 together and I can pass. That's a true story. So my first 9 week and third 9 week, I didn't fail, but I didn't do my best because I'm slacking. And back then, you had teachers that if you didn't do the work, they just give you a 0. Okay? So those things, being culturally responsive, y'all, and taking into consideration, and y'all know from a discipline standpoint, we don't use that as an excuse. We don't use, where you live or what your situation, when you do something you don't have no business, oh, well, he or she, didn't or they live over there, so they don't know no better. Everybody know how to behave. And that's what we have to teach them, is we have to teach our students how to behave. We have to have that structure in place. That's the only way that this place can function without bringing all the community stuff into this building, okay? So that's what we're doing. When we have all these things in place, we're being culturally responsive. When we have things in place, the teachers, because if your beliefs is one way and you grew up one way, we're not asking you to change who you are, but just follow the things that we have in place. We put those things in place so that you don't have to change who you are, but we put them in place because we're trying to be culturally responsive to every child that's in that class, okay? You can think about it any way you want to think about it. That's you. But you don't have an option of not doing it. You may not agree with it. You may think that we're giving it to them. That's fine. But you can't just not do it, okay? So that's that. So we have to zap. We have to go back and zap. And parent conferences, some of y'all been in there with me, I do probably 99% of them. 99% of them. But we have to, but yesterday I just happened to do one by myself, and when I pulled that stuff up, there were zeros. We cannot do that. Again, with my daughter, if I see a zero, I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna say, yeah, girl, you didn't do your work, get with that teacher. But all of our students don't have that level of support. So you have to let us as administrators help with that level of support. So again, all you gotta do is put it on a form, give it to us, and we'll take it from there. Okay, but I can't explain something that's in our handbook that we're not doing. Okay? I showed this data. I'm gonna zoom through it. It's got about 4 minutes. I showed this data, and a lot of times people have opinions of things, and their opinion is things ain't going right or we're not good. That's I always look at the data, because the data don't lie. The data, it is what it is, and then you move forward. Okay? So this is the data. This is the report card that came out from the governor's office. Just a snapshot of us. 51-week overall performance is higher. You always want to look for that word right there. Overall performance is higher than 51 of the schools in the state. I'm talking about every school in the state of Georgia, no matter what the economic situation is. Academic growth is 45% higher than all the schools in the state of Georgia. 4-year graduation rate at 92.2 is 88%, but on CCRPI it's 91% higher than all the schools in the state of Georgia. Okay? 41% of our students are college and career ready, and we beat the odds, meaning that we perform better than similar schools. So whenever somebody tries to tell you, whenever you feel like you're not making a difference, just look at the data. We're headed in the right direction. What we're doing is we're headed in the right direction. That's what I look at. I look at the data. We had a 72.4. If it was under the old calculations, it would have been an 83. Okay? But they changed the calculation. Some schools didn't survive that calculation change. We did. So here's the conversion chart right here. We'd have been an 83, would have been a B, we'll C, as long as we're not a D or an F. Meaning that we're going in the right direction. We hit a snag in 2014. That's when we started the literacy, adjusted, and this is the last 3 years. Okay? But, like I said earlier, beating the odds of similar schools. Now, if I put a comparison chart, I think I've done that.